Part 2, creating a simple architectural structure. In this video, we're going to decorate the interior of our structure. So the first thing we need to do is we need to decide what the function of this shed is going to be. We have a door and 3 windows. So this could be any number of things. It's 12 by 12, so this could be a small workshop, this could be a storage shed. Perhaps you'd like to convert this into a living space or a hangout. Maybe you want to have a man cave in the backyard or somewhere to hang out. This could be a tiny home. But me, I really like gardening, so I'm going to transform this into a potting shed. A place where I can plant seedlings and get my plants ready to transplant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this roof piece here. So I select this rectangle and I can hit delete. Delete. Ooh, eraser doesn't work here. So select it and then hit delete on the keyboard and that gets rid of that. We can see inside our structure. So the next thing I'm going to do is I notice that underside my windows are not complete spaces. So I'm going to edit that by drawing a rectangle here which will fill in the space. Drawing a rectangle here which fills in the space. And then I can select just here and delete that so I can still see my window. And going over here, I'm filling in the rectangle here. And then selecting here and deleting. Now we should be able to get rid of some of these lines. And then we'll have a nice even wall space. So I have to decide kind of what color I want the inside of my space to be. I really like bright cheery colors, so perhaps I'll pick a light blue or a yellow. So I can do that by using my material painter. And you can select any number of things from solid colors to like vegetation. Perhaps you want to have a green wall, different patterns. If you select patterns, there's different things that you can select and change the colors. Because I'm plain, I think I just like a straight pink color. So if I can go to a named color section, or I can select just colors. But I think I'd like to do something like a yellow, something like this, and perhaps a little bit lighter. So let's go into, instead of the name colors, the colors, and I'll select something like this, and then I can edit it. Oh, it's not letting me edit, so I think I have to paint it first. So I'm going to go here on my shape, and on the inside walls I'm going to paint them yellow, which is really quite bright. Excellent. So it's all nice and yellow. And the next thing that I can do is I can edit my color now to be perhaps a little bit lighter. So opacity turns your walls kind of transparent so you can see the outside. We don't necessarily want that. We just want a little bit of a lighter color. So I could do that just by selecting in the color here, and I can move in to something like a little bit lighter, not so green, just lighter yellow. Maybe something like this, like a butter yellow. I'm really happy with that. I just noticed that there's a few lines left over here over the door, so I can select and delete those. Excellent. So next I have to do the flooring. So I go back to my materials and I can select here, what do I want? Maybe I want tile on the floor because it's going to be a messy space I'm going to have to clean. So I can go to tile and select the tile that I like. What do we have here? This blue tile is really nice. So the square glass tile, and then I can paint that on the floor. But the tiles are really small. I don't particularly like that. So I'm going to edit these maybe to be like, let's try 1 foot. They're still pretty small. So let's try 3 feet. 3 foot squares. That's better. I like those tiles. So I've edited my space, given myself a nice cheery color, and then I've got my tile placed on the floor. I'm really happy with that. So that's done for material. Now if this tray here is annoying you, you can choose to close it or to minimize it. I'm going to leave it open because I like having those options. So the next thing you have to do is you can start putting things inside your space. So because I know that mine's going to be a potting room, I could put a potting bench in. So I can go to my 3D warehouse and select a potting bench. Potting bench, search, and then I've already looked at a few of these. I think I like this one here because it has a little seed starting area and then a grate for when you're cleaning plants and it can catch it into like a garbage or something. So I'm going to download this into my model. Yep, download it directly into my SketchUp model. And then it shows up here, look, even with a little person. So I can, in fact, I'm just going to take it out here and I'm going to place it down. I'm going to place it down just out here so I can take a look at it. So here, first thing I'm going to do is rotate this around because I want to move it inside here. So I'm going to go to my rotate on the top and select the middle, and I'm going to rotate it. Oh, it's rotating way over there. So I'm going to rotate it so that it's around. Let's zoom out a little bit more. There we go, just like this. So I've turned it around so that the potting bench is facing this way because ultimately I'd like to put it on this little wall here. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go into my block here and I want to remove this person. So I'm going to right click it and I can select explode. And now I can actually select the man and delete him. And then I can just select this thing now. So if I want to, I can select all of the pieces here and right click them and I can group them. Make a group. So now this is all one piece and I can move this around. So I'm going to move this over and I'm going to move it into my potting space. There we go. So we'll zoom in so you can see what we're doing. We'll move it here into my potting space. So right up against my wall, perhaps that tray is a little bit big blocking the door, but we can probably sneak it in right here. So let's rotate around orbit and take a look and see how it fits in here. So it looks like the block is extending out, but there's no parts extending. And I've managed to fit it inside perfectly, and it's on the ground. So I can go back to my select and click out here, and I have a potting bench. Now my tray here is going into the wall just a tiny bit. So I could choose at this point to move my potting bench just a tiny bit over so it's not intersecting with the wall like that. Perfect, and it fits perfectly in that space. Now, this is where you can really personalize your space. So if you wanted to transform this into a tiny home, you could go to town. You could get all the things that you're going to require, like a cooking space, a sleeping space, living space, and you could transform this space. Or maybe you want to transform it into a garage or a motorcycle shop, and you could put in like a little lift and a tool board and all the things that you're going to need. But really take your time and think about what you want inside this space. Now for purposes of time, I'm just going to select this one potting bench and I'm going to move on. So I've applied textures onto the wall, and a texture on the floor, and my potting bench. There's a little bit of a gap between my potting bench and the wall, so I can choose to move that a bit again, just closer to the wall if I like. Perhaps something like this. Now this is the end of part 2, creating a simple architectural structure.